This is News 25 with Deanna O'Donnell and Unette Gentry. News 25, local news you can count on. News is brought to you by J.K. Nelson Law. Call 727-9900 today for your free consultation. If you need a lawyer, you need Nelson. This segment of the news is brought to you by Silver State Health, bringing quality medical and psychiatric care to Pahrump. Call 775-505-1214 for an appointment.
Welcome to News 25. I'm Deanna O'Donnell.
And I'm Unette Gentry. It's Thursday, January 14th.
Well, Nye County District Attorney Chris Arabia is halfway through his term. News 25 spoke to him about how things are going and what his focus will be as he moves forward.
I'm very happy with the way things are running. Because of the COVID situation, it's been extraordinarily challenging for the courts and for my office and for the defense lawyers as well. I never would have imagined that we'd be doing some of the stuff that we're doing by video, and so it's been a real challenge for everyone, and nobody knows how long the pandemic's going to go. It could be 6 months, it could be 6 years, who knows? But we're going to need to focus on developing and maintaining good processes that deal with these kind of unusual circumstances. And I think we're making better charging decisions, which is something that I want to continue because that sort of sets up the entire case. And so I'm happy with the way things are going. There's a lot of challenges there, and I think that over the rest of my term, what I'm hoping to do is to build on some of the foundation that's in place now and try to, both on the criminal side and with our civil thing, give the county good advice on the civil side and do our best to balance the need to put the bad guys away with the need to protect people's constitutional rights. And, I'm a big believer in the Fourth Amendment, and I think when I see it not always as respected as it should be, that bothers me. Fortunately, that doesn't happen very often, but, it does happen. So I think that's kind of where we're going as we move into the third year.
And the Nye County Sheriff's Office has arrested Brandon Hall at an address here in Pahrump back on November 28th after a report of a domestic disturbance. Hall was arrested that day for disobeying a peace officer, failure to yield at a stop sign 21 miles per hour over the speed limit, and operating an unregistered vehicle. Hall was back in trouble again on January 1st after a call to NCSO for a report of another domestic disturbance.
Sheriff's deputies were dispatched to a Pahrump address at 20 minutes into the new year for a report of a domestic. Upon arrival, deputies were informed that Brandon Hall had run from the residence. The victim advised officers that Hall had gotten upset after they'd left a New Year's Eve party. When they arrived home, they began to argue. She advised that Hall began grabbing at her keys by force and causing red marks to her shoulder. Hall also allegedly punched her on the left side of her face, and according to the declaration of arrest, officers were able to see marks consistent with that. Brandon was later found under a tractor on the property and had to be physically removed and continued to resist, having to be forcefully placed into the patrol vehicle. Hall also spit at an officer. Hall was arrested for domestic battery first, robbery, resisting a public officer, and assault on a protected person. He was transported to Nye County Detention Center and booked accordingly.
And we have a report on another Brandon, this one Brandon Snyder, who appeared in Judge Lane's courtroom on Monday for a competency evaluation hearing.
Schneider, a former mixed martial arts fighter, was arrested in March of 2020 for assault with a deadly weapon and resisting a public officers. Deputies were dispatched to an address in Pahrump on March 27th of 2020 for a report of a domestic. Deputies noticed black tire marks in the driveway and a wooden fence with extensive damage to it. The victim stated that Schneider came to her house and was irate and angry. He backed his vehicle up and advanced toward her at a high speed while she was standing in the driveway. She realized he was not stopping and ran away to avoid getting hit by the vehicle. The vehicle hit her fence. Schneider then sped off. The victim stated that other than forcefully grabbing her hands and intentionally trying to hit her with his car, he hadn't hurt her in any other way. A voluntary witness corroborated the statement from the victim. Schneider was later located and immediately placed under arrest. He became irate and yelled that he would rather deputies shoot him instead of taking him to jail. Thomas Gibson, attorney for Schneider, said that he had not yet received a competency report from Lakes Crossing and asked that the hearing be continued until the report had been received. Schneider's competency evaluation hearing was postponed to February 1st, and he was released on $5,000 bail.
All the financial news affecting you and your wallet when News 25 returns.
You're watching News 25, the most recognized and farthest reaching local news in Nye County. News 25, local news you can count on. This segment of the news is brought to you by P&P Property Management. Knowledge, experience, communication, and trust. Call Cynthia at 775-727-4444.
Welcome back to News 25. Well, payment company Affirm is one of several IPOs off to a strong start on Wall Street. Dropbox is cutting its workforce, and gas prices jumped more than 8% in December. Angela Miles has more.
Topping our news, the IPO market is back in action. Shares of online payments company Affirm opened for trading yesterday on the NASDAQ. That stock priced in at $49 per share and then traded at $90.90 at the opening bell. Online retailer Shopify has a 20 million share stake in Affirm, which is now worth a cool $2 billion. The pandemic is propelling huge growth in online shopping, causing Affirm to quickly become a popular stock. Dropbox is cutting its workforce worldwide by 11%. The CEO called the company cuts painful but necessary to create a thriving business. Checking the economy, the consumer price index edged higher in December by 0.4%. It's up that much mostly because of prices at the gas pump jumping 8.4%. Consumer prices are a measure of inflation.
Thanks, Angela. And we do have two accidents, both of them luckily non-injury crashes to tell you about. And that is Thursday morning around 4:30 in the morning. There was a two-vehicle offset head-on collision on Pahrump Valley Boulevard near Idaho Street. Fire Chief Scott Lewis tells us that there was injuries involved in this crash. However, all of the occupants declined to be transported. Nye County Sheriff's Office deputies are investigating the cause of that accident. And last night, there was an accident at the Highway 372 and Pahrump Valley Boulevard roundabout. The elderly female driver declined to be transported to local medical facilities. The car, however, did sustain major damage. Nevada Highway Patrol is investigating the cause of that accident. The car ended up there on the center median.
And in other local news, CES is an annual trade show organized by the Consumer Technology Association and has been underway since Monday. Normally, it's held at the Las Vegas Convention Center, but this event is now going virtual. And in the tech world, it is synonymous. This year's event is virtual, but that pandemic is not stopping the features that are being shown. Many of the new innovations introduced this year have been influenced by the changes that we've all been going through in our daily lives due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Here are just a few of this year's key speakers and features.
And one of the things that we've learned is that when we don't have infrastructure that helps address public concern, that allows us to be able to then default to the traditional methods of let's go to the doctor's office, let's go to the ERs and urgent cares. Well, that's actually the worst place for us to send healthy people and intermingle with those that may be sick, given the fact that it's so contagious. And so what we learned was that we had to develop systems up front to be able to help address a lot of those questions. And in so doing, we took technologies such as an AI-based chatbot, deployed those. We started out in Providence Health System, but then deployed that pretty widely. In fact, it's being used by the CDC as part of their symptom tracker.
And then along comes the coronavirus. And effectively what's happened is 1.6 billion students have instantly been put online, or essentially you basically had 20% of the world's population thrown in the deep end of the online learning pool and told to sink or swim. Some have sank, some have crawled to the edge of the pool, got out, and said they're never going back in, but most have flailed around a little bit, got the hang of it, and said they kind of like this. In fact, we'll never go back to the way things were done before. The genie's not going back in the bottle.
Mirrors that you can sense your posture, your sun exposure, your blood pressure, your mood, your mental health. the proliferation of IoT devices, smart refrigerators, smart toilets, smart toothbrushes. That is all going to allow us to have early versions of the data that we're looking at. And I just can imagine a world where, as you know, camera pills that we swallow to diagnose bowel and gastrointestinal issues, bras that measure lesions and tumors, that take the temperature, the firmness, and they can track lumps. This is all about continuous, omnipresent, always on systems that are gathering data, trugging it through a group of algorithms that will lead to the consumer having actions and choices that they can make.
Consumers they're not born with a book that says, hey, when you're 50, it's time to get that colorectal cancer screening. But if you have a family history, you may want to come in earlier, around the age of 25 or 30. But what consumers really need is they need a system that can be proactive and tell them what it is they need to do and when they need to do it, and help them to align to evidence-based medicine.
So I'd like to propose an alternative journey. Instead of one that takes 10 years before somebody sees a clinician, one that takes the time that it takes to download an app. And instead of spending several sessions building rapport, we've been able to demonstrate that Wobot can develop a rapport within 5 days. And we can help people reduce their symptoms within 2 weeks. And we want a technology that can help people access human resources if and when they need it.
All right, don't grab that remote. We'll be right back after this break.
You're watching News 25, brought to you by Mountain West Lawyer, Injury Attorneys, 727-9500. News 25, local news you can count on. News is brought to you by Canyon Ridge Periodontics. Give them a call at 702-966-0302.
Welcome back. Nye Communities Coalition will offer a couple of free classes that could help patients with diabetes or chronic disease. All you have to do is sign up.
The first class offered by Nye Communities Coalition focuses on diabetes management. The virtual online course starts January 21st with classes running from 1:30 to 4 every Thursday for 6 weeks. Nye CC community health worker Leanne Luna says the course provides some great information for patients with diabetes.
We study things that help you manage your diabetes, how to talk to the doctor, how to use your mind, how to take your medications, diet, exercise. And there's a whole toolbox of tools that we teach you how to use.
Nye CC will also offer a course that focuses on chronic disease.
I was trained in chronic disease in 2015, and I haven't been able to teach it for a while. So this is very exciting. What's great about the chronic disease is we get a variety of people in with different things that have actually gotten different resources for their pains and their diseases. So you get to share a bunch of different resources for a lot of different things, and it ends up to be a very, very good class as far as the community and the connection and bond.
The Chronic Disease Self-Management Workshop starts February 3rd with classes every Wednesday from 9 to 11:30 a.m. This, too, is a 6-week course. For more information or to register for a class, contact Nye Communities Coalition at 775-727-9970 or go to their website, nyecc.org.
Well, magazine publisher Sally Still was an award recipient at the Producer's Choice Awards that were recently held here in Pahrump. Still is a lady of many talents, and News 25 had the pleasure of speaking with her on the award show Red Carpet.
It's a blast here to be with so many friends I haven't seen since the COVID hit, and Al's brave to be doing this, and he's done such a great job, and I'm so happy that he asked me to come down here for an award. So, it was for my magazine, a career achievement magazine publisher, and I had the print magazine for 14 years. I still have the Vegas Rocks magazine, vegasrocks.com, so it's still going, kind of on pause with COVID, but it's been a wild ride. It's just for never knowing anything about publishing a magazine, but doing all the photography and the writing and just going crazy and never having a moment to breathe for 14 years. So, yeah, we're on hold. I'm finished a film right now that I directed, so I'm doing a lot of editing and post-production, and getting everything ready for my worldwide release that I'm going to have. It's Raised on Rock, the Burnett family legacy, and it's a very unique documentary, to say the least. Well, I mean, I lived and breathed rock and roll all my life. I was an outcast as a kid, and I was backstage at 14 taking pictures of Kiss and Aerosmith, and nobody knew who they were, but I did back in Indiana because I was a fat kid that just hid in my room and read rock magazines, I never thought I would have a rock magazine, but if you do put your mind and focus, you can do anything in the world. Anybody. When I first came to Vegas in 2000, there were 2 nightclubs, very small lounges, and I watched it grow over the years. That was in 2000, and then by 2012, there were all these venues, and then all the casinos realized that people loved this 80s rock that I was a part of in the 80s with my rock band and everything in Hollywood in the 80s, and it was a passion of mine. Then I was embracing all of that when all the big concerts and everything came to Vegas. So I'm looking forward to getting back to that soon.
Well, new strains of COVID-19 are making the headlines and impacting countries around the world. The virus has mutated or changed. But what exactly does that mean? And should we be concerned?
This variant is more fit, or it works better, then naturally there's going to be more of it, and it's going to be transmissible more easily and grow more readily, and then kind of take over, so to speak, the population of viruses.
Dr. Daniel Rhodes is a microbiologist with Cleveland Clinic. He says viruses mutate randomly all the time, and scientists have been expecting coronavirus's genetic makeup to change. He says mutation is a little like somebody recopying a script over and over and occasionally making an error. That error is a mutation. He says most mutations are insignificant and often detrimental to the virus, but sometimes the virus gets lucky and the mutation helps it work better. In the case of COVID-19, the virus mutated so the new strain can now latch onto our cells more effectively. However, once someone is infected, the virus behaves the same as we've come to expect. The good news is testing tools still identify these new strains.
These new variants can still be detected with our current methods of detection. So that's one thing that should be reassuring, is that we can still detect these variants just like we've been able to detect the original strains.
Currently, scientists say they have no data to show the mutations have any impact on COVID-19 vaccine effectiveness.
News 25 WeatherCam is brought to you by Lerner and Rowe Injury Attorney's Office in Pahrump. In a wreck, need a check? Call 702-877-1500.
Hi, it's John Kohler from KPVM Channel 25. We're airborne over Pahrump with Doug Campbell. We're enjoying some beautiful weather. We'll tell you all about it on this gorgeous day when we return. Woohoo!
News 25 weather is brought to you by Dairy Council of Nevada. The splash of cream in your coffee, the dollop of sour cream on your burrito, the melted toasty cheese on your pizza. Undeniably delicious, undeniably dairy. Enjoy what's real.
Hi, good evening, Nevada. It's John Kohler from the KPVM Channel 25 Weather Studios. Did you know it was on this day back in 1973 that Elvis Presley did his Live from Hawaii comeback special? I can't believe it's 73. I remember watching and going, what is going on? Mom, what? He's throwing hankies. Everybody's sweating. And it's Elvis, man. That was crazy. Crazy times. Were you there? Were you there? 1.5 billion people saw it. Crazy. Fernley, look at you, 56 degrees for a high today, 27 for a low. Out in Fallon, you're all the way up to 57 degrees, 25 for a low. In Carson City, 59 degrees was your high today, 30 will be your low as you slide on in towards morning. Out in Tonopah, you're looking at 54 degrees and 25 for a low. And in Goldfield, setting the record statewide today, Goldfield hitting it with 56 with a bullet. And 24 for a low tonight. Brr. All right, cold weather. Hey, Beatty, look at you, 70 degrees. Heating up nicely as we kind of head south, 38 for a low tonight. In Amargosa, 73 degrees for a high, 41 for a low. Las Vegas, now that seems more like Vegas weather, 70 degrees with 43 for low, pretty good. Death Valley is sneaked into the 80s. Look at you, 81 degrees for a high today, 52 for low. And here in the Paradise of Pahrump, we are at 66 degrees currently, but that was only, a fraction of what it was. 71. It was nice afternoon. A little blustery northwesterly winds, 10 miles per hour, and a little humid, 18% as the sun rose this morning at 6:54. But it was glorious and clear skies today. We'll be heading down to about 41 degrees tonight, and the winds diminishing somewhat out of the east to 7 miles per hour. Humidity increasing to 29% as we head on into the week. Let's look what we got. A little fluffy cloud, clear skies, all right. Hit and miss on the fluffy clouds. Highs kind of comfortably in the high 70s till we hit Monday, and then all that changes. Big old bunch of wind, 18 mile per hour winds Monday and Tuesday, probably on into the week, but they're predicting maybe they'll die away towards the the midweek, Wednesday, Thursday. Highs heading down from the 70s we're enjoying currently to the upper 50s, and the lows staying kind of in the upper 30s and lower 40s as we head on into the week. It's going to be a great week. I'm looking forward to it. Hope you are too. And back to the desk, it's Unette and Deanna.
Thanks so much, John.
Thank you, John. And if anybody would like to donate to the Independence Day fireworks, you can go to our local Facebook page and donate. They have a link on that page, as well as if you want to go to Eddie O'Brien's page, he also has a link there. They're hoping to get a couple extra dollars in there to have a fantastic show coming out of COVID and really celebrate. Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of News 25. I'm Deanna O'Donnell.
And I'm Unette Gentry, and from all of us here at KPVM and Ace Country Radio, thanks so much for joining us, and please come back next newscast. And I'd like to say happy birthday to my nephew, Caleb.
Happy birthday.